Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Walden Wong Art. And today I'm doing Inktober day number 15. As of now, I don't know what I'm drawing for day number 15 because I'm out and about, and this is Golden Gate Bridge right over here. But for those of you who landed on my channel, you don't know who I am. My name is Walden Wong, and I'm a comic book artist from Marvel and DC. You can check out my website. It's waldenwongart.com, and I also have a Patreon page. Patreon is patreon.com/waldenwongart. So check those out. The links are below this video description. And let's take a look at Golden Gate Bridge. And after Golden Gate Bridge, you can see my Inktober drawing piece. Next, here we go. That was the intro that I tried to do 2 days ago. I was out and about and I saw the Golden Gate Bridge, and I decided, wouldn't it be neat if I just record the Golden Gate Bridge as an intro and an outro? So today I'm gonna show you how I worked on Ultraman. Here is Ultraman. This is part of the Inktober series that I've been doing. Here's some of my previous Inktober pieces right over here. Take a quick look. So if you want to see these videos, look at some of my past videos in my channel. And today I'm going to show you how I worked on this Ultraman piece. This was a suggestion from one of the viewers who's been watching my Inktober videos, and he said, Walden, can you draw Ultraman? I said, that's actually a great idea. I'm going to draw Ultraman. So this is how it turned out. So I'm going to show you how to sketch it, how to pencil it, and how to ink it. The hardest part for me is figuring out a pose that represents that character. So if you looked at all my other previous Inktober pieces, I would try to draw something, a pose that would represent that character. With Ultraman, it took me so long to figure out a pose that looked good. First, I wanted him to do this. Do you remember when you were a kid and then you were watching Ultraman? I remember when I was a kid, I would always do this. And then I would go in the shower, I would take a shower and I would do this and let the water dribble off my hands to make it look like I'm shooting like that power that Ultraman does. So if you go like this and it will shoot. So that's something I did when I was a little kid. So here are the quick sketches, the layouts, and I went with partial this one and partial that one, and then I ended up with something like this. So without further ado, let's check out this video. Here we go. Okay, so starting with Ultraman, I'm going to sketch out a different pose, more like a worm's eye view, looking up at Ultraman jumping down, landing on you. Starting with sketches of the figure, and when I'm sketching the figure, I'm not even worried about the costume or the look of it. I just want to get the figure down to get the right pose done correctly. This is the hardest part for me when I'm figuring out a pose, because it's body parts moving around, and sometimes it looks good and sometimes it doesn't look good. And then this is the part that takes me the longest. Once I have the pose all set down, everything else is easier to draw. So I'm just changing the knees, changing the hands, changing the fingers just so it looks good. And here I'm just working in block forms just so I can see how everything will look like when I start drawing the figure. I'm moving the leg to the left, moving the leg to the right, redrawing the shoes, making sure the ankles are in the correct place. And then I'll lift up the drawing pad to make sure everything is drawn correctly, because I am still drawing on a slanted table. My table is 30 degrees. Artists usually draws on a sloped table, so it's better for posture as well as a better view. But every so often, I still need to lift up the drawing pad to look at it straight on, so the image isn't elongated. So here I sketch out the eyes and Ultraman's chest set already just to see how it looks, and I'm happy with this. So I'm thinking Ultraman just flew to the planet Earth, and then he's about to land, and he sees you right there, and he's about to land right next to you. Okay, I'm making sure I draw his fingers. Fingers are very important, just as important as the face. Good thing about this Ultraman, it doesn't really have that much facial features, just two eggs for the eyes and then the mouth. Really, Ultraman's eyes are like drawing an egg. So we're going to just go in there, put in all the anatomy, drawing the shoes, drawing the bottom of the shoe, making the perspective, the foreshortening of the leg correct, and just sketching everything out. You'll notice that when I'm sketching, I'll sketch very lightly in pencil first, and then after the sketch is done, I'm going in there and I'm darkening up the pencil. That's the second stage when I'm doing artwork. I'll go in there and I'll use the pencil and I'll darken up lines. And when I do darken up lines, I'm not just darkening up my sketch lines. I'm picking the best fit line from all the sketches, and then I'm drawing the line that I do like. And here I'm drawing the finger, and with the right hand, his right hand, the finger is further away from his body. His left hand is closer to the viewer, so that hand needs to be bigger, and the hand that's further back needs to be smaller. So here I drew it a few times, and it was too big, and I just redrew it. I redrew the fingers. The middle finger is always the longest, so keep that in mind. Draw all the fingers, make sure it looks smooth and soft. The flow is correctly. And then here I'm just drawing the other leg. Drawing the knees first. The knees, usually when I'm sketching out a figure, I'll sketch out the knee as a circle. So that's like a joint. And then the shoulder as a circle, as another joint. And then I'll put all the cylinders connecting the joints. Now that the figure is pretty much done and I'm happy with it, I'm going to go in there and tighten up the anatomy a little bit more. Put in some of the rib cage, the arms, the muscles on the hands. Get all that done correctly. And figuring out where I want the eyes to be. I did sketch how drew the eye earlier, but then I wanted his eyes to look down a little bit more. So his face is looking down right above his chest a little bit, just to give it more of a dynamic feel of the figure. So now he's looking down, redrawing the ears painstakingly. This shouldn't really take that long because I'm not really drawing eyes, nose, lips, and mouth. I'm just drawing a helmet. But I still take my time because I want this to look as nice as I can. So these Inktober pieces, I'm drawing a lot, and then I'm just going to put them on my website. So if any of you are interested in picking up any of my Inktober pieces, you can go to my website, look at the shop section, and in the shop section, there's a sketches. So look over there. You'll see some of my Inktober pieces that I've done a couple of years ago, and then some of my Inktober pieces that I'll be uploading to that site. So check out my website, waldenwongart.com. Okay, so with Ultraman, he has that red decoration around his outfit. So I'm sketching that in, and then I'm thinking, should I leave it just an outline because I'm not really coloring it? Or should I just make it completely black? Ultraman is a silver character with red stripes around his outfit. So I decided I'm just going to go in there and make everything black. So to make the uniform stand out a little bit more. So I'm going in there with the mechanical pencil and I'm drawing his face more in detail. His ears, his eyes, making sure all of that is nicely drawn in detail before I start inking it. Behind the mechanical pencil, there's this really fine nail eraser, which is great for working on faces because it's a pinpoint eraser. You can also buy these erasers that comes in like a pencil format. Every time you erase it, and when the eraser is kind of gone, you can just extend that eraser and you can use that. Okay, so now that the penciling is done, I'm going to use my micron. These microns I'm using, they're Statler microns. I'll add links below my video description to my Amazon store. So anything you see me use in my videos is available in my Amazon store. Here I'm using a French curve. This French curve is basically a ruler, but with curves. You can order these in sets of 3 or 4, and with those, you should be able to find any curve that you want to ink or you want to draw. Make sure when you're ordering stuff on my Amazon store, I've picked the right ones for you to order from. So if you wanted to order that French curve, it's beveled. Because when you're inking and your ruler or your French curve, if it's beveled, and say you ink the line right next to the stencil, and you move the stencil, there's a chance that you can smudge it. But when it's beveled, it's raised up a little bit, and when it's raised up and you move the ruler away, it won't smudge any of your artwork underneath. Early in my career, I didn't know about beveled rulers or beveled stencils, and then I would just use a regular French curve like this, and I would just ink on top of it, and then when I moved the French curve away, it would just smudge the line, and then I end up going back and redoing the whole piece again. So these are little tips and things that you learn along the way while being a comic book artist, a professional inker. And I'm just learned a lot of things, and then I'm
letting you know how I work, so it helps you along the way. I know there's a lot of new artists or inspiring artists that wants to be a comic book artist. So hopefully my videos are able to help you along the way. When I first started working in comics, there wasn't really YouTube videos or tutorials out there that I can watch and follow. Most of it is just learning on my own or going to comic book conventions and talking to other artists and figuring out how they did the work. And then they would tell me how they do the work, and I would kind of learn it that way. But with the internet generation, it's great. I can just make these videos for all of you to learn. So for those of you who are aspiring artists and have been keeping track with all my Inktober pieces, not only am I just drawing the pieces to show you how I draw it, but I'm also giving you little tips and hints and hacks, a little bit here and there. So if you watch all of them, you should be able to learn something from it as well. So now I'm working on line weights. When I work on line weights, I'm controlling how thick a line is supposed to be and how thin the line is supposed to be. So instead of inking it with a micron, which is just a dead flat line, I'm using a brush and I'm applying pressure on the brush. The harder I press down on the pressure, the wider that line is going to be. The lighter I hold the brush and the easier it is to glide across the paper, the thinner the line is going to be. So when you're working in comics or you're inking figures, try to bounce that line weight around. You want certain areas to be thicker and certain areas to be thinner. The more you bounce that line weight around, the more that 2D drawing is going to look somewhat 3D. So that's your goal as a comic book artist, to make your flat drawing look somewhat 3D. So here, all the red areas on Ultraman's costume, those stripes, instead of me just drawing 2 lines, if I was working on a comic book and I was doing this for a publisher, I would just draw 2 lines that I won't fill in with black. I would just add the 2 lines and I would leave that for the colorist to color it red. But because this is just a little drawing for Inktober, I decided to just go in there and add that, make it all black. So after making that all black, I'm not going to add any shadows underneath Ultraman, because I want the details on his stripes to stand out. Okay, so I'm just going there with holding the bottle of ink. Now, I do hold my bottle of ink over my artwork every so often when I'm just filling in black areas. But for the most part, when you're doing comic work, try not to hold that bottle of ink on top of your artwork, because there could be a chance of it spilling, or all of a sudden you shake your hand and then the ink just spills over. But after doing it a while, you kind of understand how ink works and how much ink is on your brush and how little ink you need and when you need to dip it, and how often you need to hold your bottle of ink on your left hand or your right hand if you're left-handed. I did use a template to ink the bottom of the shoe, but I decided to go back in there and use a brush to thicken up the bottom of the shoe, just to make the bottom of the shoe a little bit popping out forward to the viewer, to the person that he's going to be landing on. And then added some hatch lines around his eyes, just to give it that glowing texture. Okay, and then I'm going to do that for the emblem on his chest as well a little bit later. So here I'm adding certain lines to define some of the muscles a little bit, show more of the form. I'm using the brush pen. This brush pen is an Agwash watercolor brush pen. So if you're interested in that, links below the video description, so you can look for that. And then finally, I'm going to go back in there and erase everything with a kneaded eraser. I'll just go in there and erase all the bigger pencil areas first. And after erasing all the bigger pencil area, I'll use a vinyl eraser to erase all the stubborn areas. And really, when you're erasing, make sure you erase in between your 2 left fingers or 2 right fingers. When I erase, I'm always erasing in between 2 fingers. Because if you don't, and you're not using a thicker bristle board, there's a good chance that your art paper will just scrunch up, will wrinkle up. Okay, go in there and erasing all the general areas, make it look complete, and that's Ultraman jumping down. And the kneaded eraser is okay. Every so often, when the kneaded eraser is kind of gray and muddy, and you're erasing, it's not erasing much. You just go in there and knead it, like flip it around, flop it around a little bit, and then it will clean itself. if you use it correctly, you can actually use a kneaded eraser for quite a long time. Unlike a regular eraser, a vinyl eraser, when you erase it kind of just gets smaller and smaller. A kneaded eraser just stays the same size, and it picks up all its own eraser dust. It just collects all the gray into the eraser. So that's the good thing about a kneaded eraser. It doesn't have any of the eraser dust that crumbles and falls all over the floor. But the vinyl eraser does have eraser dust. So I'm adding little tick marks around certain areas of his body just to create more of a form. Okay, just adding a little bit here, a little bit there, not too much. Don't want to go overboard with the rendering because Ultraman is wearing a silver costume. It's more clean, doesn't have a lot of details on it. And then adding details to the emblem. And then when all's done, I would just sign my name. Sign my name on the bottom a little bit later. I would change my pen and sign it with a 0.5. Just going to go in and fill in a little bit areas and then sign my name. There it is, and this is how the completed Ultraman looks.
So there you have it. That's the Ultraman piece right over here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, check out my website. It's waldenwongart.com. Check out my Patreon. It's patreon.com/waldenwongart. All those links are below this video description. Please like, share, subscribe. And before I go, I'm gonna let you see that other outro video that I did when I was out in Land's End in San Francisco, right near the Golden Gate Bridge, Land's End. And there you have it. That's me working on this Inktober piece. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so anytime I upload a video, you'll be one of the first to see it. I hope this video inspires you to do comic book art. Maybe draw the Golden Gate Bridge right over there. Those towers right over there. And this is the Pacific Ocean. Please like, share, and subscribe. Take care.